at the Seeds of Hope podcast. I'm really excited to catch up. It's been a minute and so much has happened. So much so that I felt like we should do this a little different. So I brought on a friend of mine and she's going to curate a conversation that's going to help us catch back up in terms of what has been going on in life and the different lessons that we're learning because adulting whew, is something special. So I'm going to pass the virtual mic over.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much, Victoria, for that amazing introduction. If you don't know, my name is Shanice Dockins. I am based right here in Oklahoma City as a life coach. I help women essentially to reset, rebuild, and thrive into the next chapter of their life, whether it's personal or professional. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, Victoria. I'm just excited to hop into today's session. So yes, let's get started. All right. So, as you know, I am a life coach. So, I'm based right here in Oklahoma City. And today's session is really just about a real time reset. I'm honored to be able to coach Miss Victoria today. She is really bold, beautiful, and stepping out in her confidence. Has an amazing platform and also is willing to be seen doing the inner work. So, again, if you're tuning in live with us, or if you ever felt like you are next in line or you're not really sure where to start, whether it's in your personal life or professional life, this one is for you. So, ladies, I like to really just kind of dive in essentially with a nice warm up exercise. So, it's called um, what season are you in? So, Victoria, I posed the question to you. What season are you in? Are you grieving? Are you rediscovering yourself? Are you leveling up? What is going on? What is stirring in your spirit lately?
Oh, I love this. Okay. My word for the year actually is elevation. And I think I'm figuring out what that means every day.
Mhm.
I think it definitely is mixed with a little bit of grief because whenever there's change and transition and things don't go as planned in our relationships or career life, there's a level of grief. So I think there's a little grief in there, but
Mhm.
it's bringing me to a place of elevation because I'm having to let go and take bigger leaps as a result of releasing some things.
Ah, I love to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That gave me chills. I love the word elevation, transition. This particular space is all about being real and authentic and specific in where you are, and just being honest with yourself without the judgment. And that's how you begin to build that momentum and truly just reset from there. So, you are in the middle of a powerful, powerful shift. So, I want to just honor that and want to honor you in the moment. Um, I'm going to dive in a little bit to let's take it back. So, you talked about releasing, right? What has led you here? What's the story behind the mic, behind your podcast? Like, is it you showing up? Is it giving, a personal reference to other women? You've talked about previously how this platform is like your personal diary. So, you are able to really, truly open up and be vulnerable and just let go of false pride and really step into being visible. So tell us a little bit about that. Let's unpack that.
Yes. So I started this podcast. It's crazy to think that it was like 5 years ago.
Mhm.
June, actually. So 5 years ago in the midst of the pandemic. I think we were all at a space where we were doing a lot of inner work, right?
Yeah.
Reflection, because the world literally forced us into a pause, forced
Mhm.
us to sit with ourselves. And in that space, I don't know. I think with social media and being in my early 20s at the time and really trying to figure out what I was doing with my life,
Mhm.
you get this diploma and all of a sudden now you're responsible for your life decisions. And it was a heavy weight.
Mhm.
And I've always been a deep feeler and willing to acknowledge that like this is hard.
Mhm.
Um, Not like the push through it, like this is what I gotta do. It was just like this is hard. Why is nobody saying how hard it is to be responsible for your own life decisions? And now in this day and age of social media, there's a lot of like filtered versions of everyone's success. And
Mhm.
I was like, I think we need a space where we can literally be honest about the fact that we're figuring it all out. So I
Mhm.
started the Seeds of Hope podcast as a way of using my story to plant seeds of hope in the lives of others who felt like they were stuck, confused, or overwhelmed with all of life decisions and and just to know like it's okay if it feels heavy. Like that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means that you're deeply in touch with the fact that this life is real.
Mm. Wow. You mentioned so much in that moment. So I want to again commend you to be able to really share your story and share your voice because it's important. It's impactful. You know, we don't realize that a lot of other people also experience the same thing, just at different points and different journeys in our life. So I want to touch on the inner work, right? And just kind of letting go of a specific season of figuring it all out, having to come back in house or really just sit with ourselves, right? In those moments, what beliefs were you shifting? You know, what did it look like for you in those moments of, you know, holding yourself accountable to be in that season, to be like, okay, I am figuring it out. It is heavy. It's okay not to be okay. What would have it meant to really be supported through that and felt seen?
Ooh. Okay, there are two things I heard, the belief and the support. And those are two really, I think, big questions in terms of the foundational conversations that I've been having over the years on this platform. And so in terms of belief, um TV has definitely brought about a lot of self-reflection, you know? So there's this one show, it's called Good Trouble, and there's a scene, and I literally had to, like, take notes, jot it down because I was like, "I need to remember this moment." Because you ever see something on screen where all of a sudden you're like, "That they put into words what I've been feeling, but didn't have the language for." So there's this scene where this, girl is at her, like, dream job, right? The job
Mhm.
been working for her entire life. You know, she's been putting in extra hours, you know, high achieving student, all the things. And she's like, I feel like I need to walk away from this. And there's this moment where she gets the language of, you know, I feel like this is as good as it gets. And so that's
Mhm.
been keeping her at that place for far too long, even when internally she knew that a shift needed to happen. So I
Mhm.
think that's one of the biggest beliefs that I've been like navigating towards is not feeling guilty when you get the thing that you want and it's not it. And it doesn't fulfill
Mhm.
you. And that doesn't mean that you're, you know, ungrateful or anything like that. It just literally means you've outgrown. And like that's actually healthy to change your mind because that means you've grown.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Let's sit in that. Let's sit in that uncomfortableness. I feel like there is more to unpack in that. When we are chasing our goals, right? When we are literally living out our reality, we're doing the hustle and grind, we are up late hours in the night, we are studying, we have accountability partners. Let's really kind of unpack that, right? You get the dream job, you get your answered prayers. You get what you've been asking for, but it still feels like it's not enough. Or we are those high achievers. So we get that at a young age, and then it's like, now what? What's next? So for you in those moments and in that season, let's kind of peel back. Like, what was that emotional resistance? Did you feel any kind of emotional resistance in those moments of where, okay, this is me now in this current season, but did you feel like you were holding on to that? Was that like part of your identity? Were those specific roles that you were chasing in that moment where you just, I had to be a high achiever and that defined you? Like, what was that kind of resistance for you?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like it's really challenging when you're looking for a place to plant your roots in terms of identity.
Mhm.
Um, as I've been reflecting, I've realized that it was school was easy because there was always a pathway forward, right? It's like,
Mhm.
okay, when you get to college, they literally say, "What do you want to do with your life? Here are the classes you need to take. Here's how many hours you need, and here's the bare minimum to get the A." I'm like, okay, got it, absolutely, can do it all, right? And then suddenly you get the diploma, and it's like now there's like all these choices in front of you, and there's no clear path. And so I think I really desperately wanted a place that I could find a clear path forward, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like once you find a spot that you're like, okay, I'm gonna plant my roots here, and then I'm gonna figure out my 5-year plan, you know, and just can someone tell me what's next? And I remember there was like a point of frustration. I was working with like a career coach.
Mhm.
And I was like, why doesn't my boss like tell me what like the next step is? And she's
Mhm.
like, that's a nice to have, but it's not actually necessarily their job to give you your life plan.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so then I have to like not only make all the decisions, but also figure out what I want. Like this is really heavy. Like, why is no one else saying this is hard? Like,
Wow. Wow. Agree. um, do you feel like that's a truth within yourself that a part of you feels like you avoided kind of wanting to figure that out? Like, okay, it's not on anybody else. It's not anybody else's responsibility to take the reins of my life to say, there is no clear path forward. I have to make one. I have to make the adjustment to say, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be rocky. But that's the beautiful thing about, growth. That's the beautiful thing about the process is that I think sometimes we forget in those moments to just enjoy the journey. It's all about the journey. It's not really about the destination. So, can you say that? Can you affirm and say that you didn't really feel like there was a clear path forward? Like, can you honestly, truly say that?
yeah, I don't think that there was. I think I just had to get comfortable with making a decision and then figuring out the next step from there. Like, and that rhythm was something I had to grow familiar and comfortable with. When you decide you want to be a doctor, there's a clear path forward.
Right.
I didn't necessarily have that clear of a vision in terms I knew what I liked, I knew what I enjoyed, but there was no specific title that I felt like I felt at home in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, even as a kid, like, I desired to be a teacher, but not in the traditional sense. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the idea of, like, "Oh, this is the lesson plan, and it has to go this way, and here are the
Right.
markers and the milestones." Even, like, the SAT didn't necessarily feel like it did me justice, even as, like,
Mm-hmm.
an honor roll student, so I didn't feel comfortable being in that box.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a lot of different things I loved along the way, but it was like, "But I don't necessarily think I agree with this box in terms of, like, how you express it." So, yeah, I don't think I necessarily had a clear path forward. It was like I just knew what I loved.
I understand that. Yes, yes, absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. So now we talked about pre-COVID, during COVID. Let's talk about post-COVID.
Yes.
So currently, with what you are doing on this amazing platform, what do you feel? Because we're kind of peeling back those layers, right? Let's talk a little bit about strategy. What are some areas of resistance do you feel that is kind of hindering you from saying I can be out there? Um, is it funding? Is it the type of clients that you want to work with? Is it do you want to continue to stay on this platform, or do you see yourself when we talk about, previously a TV show? Do you see yourself on a TV show? Like, what does that look like for you?
Mm, I think that in this season, I'm really leaning deeper into, like, authenticity.
Mm,
Um, I've taken some bold steps in terms of stepping away from spaces that I didn't feel like fully allowed me to fully express myself and be myself, and now it's like, "Okay, we kind of have a blank canvas. So, what does that look like?" So I'm excited to even lean more into having a clear personal brand.
mhm.
I think I've been, serving a lot of clients, have very, great professionalism, but it's like, does anyone really know me? And so it's like, okay, you have to lean into a deeper, avenue of like vulnerability in this season so that you can allow yourself to be seen. And so I think that's really what I'm leaning into is like, ooh, finding the courage to be fully seen.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's okay. All right. So, okay. So you talked about authenticity. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's very powerful.
Mhm.
It's also in regards to alignment. It's also what sustains you over time, over that longevity that you were talking about. How do you feel like I can support you in that area?
This is a great question. I mean, I think the questions that you're asking now are even leading me to find language. And I think that's why I absolutely love like coaching, and I encourage, everyone to find a season where they invest in a specific area of their life and find a coach who can journey with them through that, because there's nothing like having someone ask you really good questions.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the beauty of coaching is that it literally allows you to sit with yourself. You guys are not necessarily, saying this is what you should do. It's like you really do have to take accountability for what we said is hard for me, and making a decision and like just letting it play out and be okay. Like if it doesn't go as planned, but knowing you have the power to pivot. So I think these questions are phenomenal.
Awesome. I love it. I love to hear that. So I want you to know that this isn't just, a one-time session. This isn't just your story to just, okay, let's end it here. It's actually someone else's blueprint. It's someone else's
Mm.
survival guide. Remember, we talked about um, pre-COVID. We talked about so many different things during that of just inner work. So, what does that look like for you right now? What are your next action steps? What kind of accountability in this season of elevation? What does that look like?
Hmm. That is really good. Accountability. Ooh. I feel like in this season, accountability, one thing that I've been leaning more into in regards to being seen is like asking for help. Um, I, I'm the eldest daughter. Okay. So we all know about eldest daughter syndrome. Okay. So I do not ask for help. I just like get it done by brute force. That's just me. And so in this season, I've been leaning into vulnerability by asking for help when I need it and leaning into my community. And even like one thing I've noticed is I could be going through a really tough time, and it's not first nature for me to like pick up the phone and call a friend.
Mm.
Like, and so I'm really training myself to do that more, where it's like, let me just call somebody. Like, I don't have to sit here by myself. Like,
Mhm. Oh my goodness, I love that. So, what brought you to that point? Because asking for help, I feel like, especially in the Black community with Black women,
Mhm.
it can be shown or seen when we talk about the word seen as a sign of weakness or that we are incapable. What kind of led you to that point to say, enough is enough? I need to ask for help. I need to lean into my community. I need to not only get to the next chapter, but what made you feel like I can't do this alone?
Yeah, I think for me, it was like that whole journey of self-love. Really
Mm.
realizing that it wasn't about the fluffy, like I went to yoga this week, I drank my green juice. It was, how am I with myself? Like it started with the accountability of like one, being comfortable being with myself, but also how I care for myself is a direct representation of how I feel about myself, my relationship with myself. So when I am denying myself help, that like, what does that say about how I feel about myself, right? I have to love myself enough to give myself the resources I need. So
Right.
I feel like that's been a big thing is thankfully therapy, has been helping me even see myself at a deeper in a deeper light and see the patterns, and also realizing that one thing is when we don't receive like the love that we desire from the people that we naturally feel should give it to us, who we're taught should give it to us, we then sometimes can take on this mindset of like, well, I guess I don't need that then. Like if I didn't get it, maybe it's because I don't need it. And I had
Mhm.
to train myself that just because I didn't receive it in the space and place that I wanted and deserved to have it from, doesn't mean that like I'm not worthy of it. I have to then do the work to love myself enough to say, I'm going to find another way because the need is still a need, right? And so I think that's been the thing of like retraining myself of like, what do I need? What do I want? And where can I actually get it? You know? So if plan A doesn't work, you got to find a plan B. But
Oh,
don't give up.
I love that. I love that. Can I share something with you?
Yes.
Okay, so much was in that moment. I felt like I needed to touch on it. So, with your permission, I
Yeah.
wanted to dive into kind of like the difference between being seen versus being strategic, right?
Mm,
You knew that you needed help, right? You knew because the language that you're giving off, right, is I am in a space that I am not only ready to go deeper, but I want to love myself at a different level, right? And what that looks like is to be vulnerable, be seen with myself, spending time with yourself. So I want to commend you for that as well. Um, and you said something very monumental and very touching. And you were very strategic about it, that just because you didn't receive it in the capacity or the way that you would have liked it to be, or in society's way of, whether it's two-parent household or, someone that you looked up to as a role model, you still were like, no. So I want to commend you in that moment, and you are seen, you are heard. So,
thank you.
yeah. To, I guess, wrap this up, because that was very touching for me. Wow. So, to the woman who's watching this, who feels like, I'm not going to get emotional.
It's okay if you do.
Because I feel like that was needed. That was needed, not just for you, but I feel like that was validated for me too. Um, so to the woman who's watching this, who feels like they're tired of playing small or they don't feel seen, you are.
Yeah.
So Victoria, thank you so much for this moment. Just being able to be vulnerable with me and allow me to also step out of my comfort zone. So thank you.
Of course. I'm so honored that you said yes.
Yes.
I mean, because one thing that's really important and why I started this platform was not only just to share my story, but to increase the visibility of women.
Hmm.
Because when we are seen and heard, um, it radically changes communities. It radically changes like the economic standing, for families. And so
Right.
it's important, right? Our voice is important, our skill sets are important, and I want you to share how people can stay in touch with you because you have a valuable service helping to hold women's hands through life's different cycles and seasons. And so tell us more about how to stay in touch.
Yes, so you can stay in touch with me. I'm pretty much on all social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm pretty visible on there. And then you can also go to my website. It's www.inherwork.co, or you can email me. But yes, helping women to reset, rebuild, and thrive. So again, if this resonated with you, DM us both already. Whether you're in a season of rebuilding or elevation, that's where the reset starts now. So let's begin to do the work together.
Ooh, that was nice. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Please reach out. She's incredible, and I can't wait to see where you all are as a result of leaning into doing the In Her work.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate it.
Until next time, y'all, thanks for hanging out. And remember, take it one day at a time, one choice at a time. We are all just figuring life out.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.